Hello out there, and welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. Got a fun show of stuff lined up for us to talk about tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Sitting in the co-pilot seat as usual, none other than the great wizard of historical knowledge himself, Mr. Eric D. Smith. How are you tonight, Mr. Smith?
I'm doing well, Matt.
Yeah? Deep? No, just well.
Yep.
In the engineering booth, our Bond villain, Mr. Devlin. How are you tonight, Mr. Devlin?
I'm doing pretty good.
So let me bring this up here. We've got like I said, a pretty good show of stuff I think lined up for us to talk about tonight. Let me pop up. I don't remember if there was any show includes this time. I don't think there were. No specific show includes this time. We just got a bunch of cool articles lined up for us to talk about. So who's got the question tonight? Devlin, I think you have the question, right?
I do.
What do you got, buddy?
If you were a part of the circus, what role would you play?
If I was part of the circus, well, P.T. Barnum. Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
P.T. Barnum. The guy that owned the circus, the guy that started it all.
Oh, so you'd be the ringleader?
I guess that would be the role, ringleader. Yeah, if I could be anything. I guess I could be the bearded lady. That'd be weird, right?
I'd be the Neanderthal.
You'd be the Neanderthal. Is that a role in the circus?
I'd be like a.
It is in your circus.
In the freak show.
Oh, there you go. You'd want to be in the freak show?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Is there a reason?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. It's the coolest part of the circus.
For sure. Most interesting part. The subjugating animals.
I don't want to be on the high-flying trapeze, and I don't want to be with giant elephants or tigers.
Things that could trample you.
Yeah, I don't think I'd make a good clown.
No?
No.
You could be a sad clown. What about that?
I don't think I'd make a good clown.
Period, huh?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, the whole idea of face paint and every day and all that kind of thing seems a bit.
It's the whole clown lifestyle.
Packing into the car.
Exactly.
All that body odor.
The large shoes.
Come on, Phil, take a shower. Jesus Christ. Do it for the team. Oh, there's shit moving on the screen. The poltergeist. What's going on, Devlins?
I can see the clock.
Now you can see it, huh? What about you, Mr. Devlin? Have you decided what part in the circus you would want to play?
I feel like I'd be a ringleader too.
Do you?
I
think there's a difference between a ringleader and an owner. I think the owner owns it, does business stuff, and the ringleader organizes all the shows and how one show follows another. Right. And if somebody gets hurt,
he's the advertisement.
Yeah, like the MC, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd do that. Yeah, I'd be the ringleader. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm talking about P.T. Barnum. P.T. Barnum was also was a showman, though. Right? I mean, he did everything.
Because he did business and show. I don't think he himself did show.
He created the term show business, right?
Yeah.
Or that's the legend, anyway.
But that's still a part. Someone's got to be in that
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, and set it all up to begin with to make those positions available.
Right. So Devlin said he'd want to be the ringleader. You'd want to be in the freak show. And I want to be P.T. Barnum specifically.
Yeah. Let's start a circus.
We kind of have a circus here. Are any of the roles surprising?
No.
Do you find Devlin's role surprising in any way?
No.
Devlin, how about you?
I don't think any of the roles are surprising.
Right.
I think it works.
Do we illuminate anything here for our fans? Or are they all going, yep, I believe that. Yeah.
Send us fan art.
Send us fan art. Man,
We've had some, actually.
Yeah, we have had some, but Devlin, you might regret saying that.
I want it. I'll draw us as a circus, and I'll make it a T-shirt.
You still got, I told Reed.
Yeah.
Right? Reed is no shitter number 1. 001, right? 1A. So
I can come up with that really quickly.
I told Devlin I wanted him to make like some sort of Blade Runner-ish style design so these people can have their they can have their number, their incept date number on the thing, and then we can send it out to them as I'm talking to Reed. We're going to send it out to you as like a bitmap or as a JPEG of some sort. Then you can print it, and actually, if you want, you can have it laminated. And then what we want you to do is when you guys get these, then you need to send us a picture of you with your ID cards so that we can put it up on the website and stuff. So read that. You're the first one. And basically the way we're doing this is people that have been like Cassie's definitely a candidate, but they got to want it. If they ask for it, we're going to do it for them. Reed and I had the conversation, so that's why I can say for a fact that his is going to be going out. But we're going to have these things made. And Devlin's going to actually design them up for us, and they're going to look like some sort of, like I said, like Blade Runner style
security card
type thing, and that's going to be your official membership card to the No Shit Cast, and then we're going to record those numbers and the names. Okay, however they want it, whether they want it to be their YouTube name or from some of the people, like if a Dan W kind of person wants it, kind of thing, and we're going to record their INSEP number on the website so that people can see their name and their so that
temperature, as it were.
Yeah, so that attaches that ID number to that individual's, and we control that. So if
we're like a government.
It's happening, man. I'm totally turning this on, dude. Totally.
We should do a hashtag for this, like no shit cult.
They're no shitters is who. That's the fan. Reed's the first no shitter. He does, he's one of the first like fanboy kind of things, that's really been into the show and really likes the content and stuff. So he's going to be 001A. He'll be the first INSEP day. So Reed, you're our first creation. So I thought that was kind of cool. Devlin and I kind of came up with the idea, and then it was like other things happened. He got sick and stuff. He's feeling much better, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome back, good. Devlin. Thanks for
woo.
It's about time you took care of yourself and did what your dad told you to do to begin with.
Bunch of Dayquil.
Drink Dayquil till you can't feel it anymore.
Yeah. Pour it in my coffee.
Yeah, he's doing it. Yeah, he's doing shots of Dayquil.
Capaquil.
So got a batch of articles lined up. So we sort of covered that. That was kind of breaking news here with the show. But let me get the mouse rolling here. Come on, internet. So Sunday night live without supervision and internet access. This should be interesting, right? So this one comes from the Register. I thought this one was funny. A robotics mastermind admits, I pushed over my 1-year-old daughter to understand balance. We're still good pals, says Boston Dynamics CEO. I'm going to say this is pronounced Rayberts. Mark Rayberts, chief executive of Boston Dynamics, has admitted tipping a toddler in his quest to probe how humans balance. Come here, you little shit. Bonk. Rayberts told the BBC, quote, I have a video of pushing on my daughter when she was 1 year old, knocking her over, getting some grief. She was teetering and tottering and learning to balance, and I just wanted to see what would happen, but we're still good pals. MIT graduate and Professor Rayberts started the company in 1992. He has previously poo-pooed fears raised by his firm's robotic creations. To be fair, a man who films himself knocking over toddlers clearly has a little to fear from the moral vacuum of our Terminator-filled future.
Yeah, you got to quit knocking over robots, quit kicking robots.
We're going to have to start treating machines better, period, right?
Yeah.
What was that movie? It was a Stephen King movie. The AC/DC did the soundtrack for Who Made Who?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, what was it?
Wasn't Maximum Overdrive?
Maximum Overdrive, right? Where the machines start, like they all start becoming conscious.
Yeah.
It's something to do with an asteroid or some aliens again. That's what it was.
I remember some kind of a pop machine throwing
like
sodas
shooting people
out
with cans and hitting a kid or somebody in the head, knocking them out.
Or it could have been a soda machine that was throwing cans of pop out. Either way, I said a pop machine throwing cans of soda out.
I
don't know.
That's sort of a double. That's like a double. I don't know what that is.
I don't know where to go
soda
with that.
Machine throwing pop out, or a pop machine throwing soda out. That's all the same thing. There are many excellent Boston Dynamic videos on YouTube. Perhaps this one of a man harassing an innocent dog bot trying to get through a door is the most illuminating about the company's culture. The firm, which is surely made from its admittedly brilliant YouTube videos, than actually has made more from its. Have you seen their YouTube videos? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then selling its actual machines is offering the latest robot Spot on a lease basis. You can lease a pet. That might not be a bad idea now, actually, I think about it. Maybe that's something they should start doing with animal shelters. You can just lease this dog, take a test drive. Rayburn told the Beeb that they've had thousands of inquiries about the beast. Initially funded by the U.S. Defense Tech Agency, DARPA, Boston Dynamics was eventually sold off to Google parent company Alphabet. They too tired, and the firm was flogged again, this time to SoftBank. The original kit-carrying hound, Big Dog, was tested by U.S. Marines, but failed to win their hearts. It's just not working out in the real world,
but
man.
It's Big Dog.
We called it Big Dog. If Mrs. Rayburn is feeling well enough to give her side of the story, we'd love to hear from her or her counselor. Poor kid.
Yeah, if you go onto my Facebook site right now, that's my image.
Devlin and I are fighting for control. What do we got here, Devlin?
This is Vector. He is a little robot, and immediately thought of him.
Which totally interrupt Eric.
I know. I feel so bad.
You guys are fine.
No, it's not fine.
I got a don't kick robots symbol for my Facebook.
Oh.
Yes, he does. Yeah, it's your Facebook profile picture or whatever. Yeah.
Because I like robots. I got a robot.
Like you said, it's probably a good idea to start being kinder to things that are eventually going to become.
I have a robot myself.
Paranoid?
No, I have a robot myself. I like robots, and I think we should treat them just like we would anything.
But see, therein lies the issue. You say the statement, I have a robot.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, robots aren't going to be owned by anybody.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
You're going to be seen as one of those evil owners, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
I'll set them
free. Be careful with that. I'm just throwing it out there.
I'll set them free.
I think.
Yeah.
I think that you would.
Maybe he's free already.
He might be.
You'd really like this little thing. Like, look into it. I suggest. I don't want to get too far into it.
It's cute. I mean, it does have sort of a cute feel to it.
It's actually pretty smart. One of my friends got it. It's kind of expensive, but it's on sale.
It's not very big, is it?
Does it pay rent?
No.
Does it pay rent? I think it just uses electricity.
Yeah. It has like, I do want to point out this one thing about it. It has this sensor on the bottom, so if it's on a table, it can sense about a few inches in front of it and all around it, so that it won't fall off the table.
Yeah. Mine has that too, and it will also come up to a wall or a book, and it's got mallets, and it will do a arithmetic pattern of some sort.
Yeah, yours plays music.
Yeah, he's a music robot.
Devlin, what's this one do?
This one plays music too. It does math. You can show it an equation in front of it. Basic math, though. You can ask it a question. It's kind of like Alexa in a way.
Interesting.
It's pretty, like I said, it's originally about $200, $300. So it's really good, but it's on sale right now for about $100.
Does it like follow you around automatically or anything?
You have to announce it first. You have to say, "Hey, Vector," to wake up, and then it does its own thing. It kind of does its own thing, but if you get its attention, it will.
So what's this Cosmo?
Cosmo's
What's Cosmo?
Cosmo's like the
Radio Shack
budget version.
The budget version?
I think so. They're both the
Radio
same.
Shack brand.
I just prefer Vector more. Yeah.
Realistic.
Oh gosh.
It also accesses the internet to ask questions, so it has like that Siri aspect to it. So like if you ask it how far away is the sun from the Earth?
Of all the things I want robots to do for me, accessing the internet's not necessarily the first one
on your priority list.
I know that sounds bad, yes, but manual labor would be awesome.
Like, do something, do something actually of value besides.
It moves a block.
Yeah, shouldn't be that. It moves
a block?
That's the block that you see in these pictures. It moves that. It's got little forks on its arm thing.
I need more of an excuse than less of an excuse to do something.
So it has the ability to stack desktop-sized cargo.
Hey,
I'm sold, man. I want 2 of them.
That's
I find that to be valuable. Don't you need someone to pack your desktop-sized cargo? Come on.
I do. I have beside my bed this dresser, and it's full of crap. And it could all be organized by a robot.
A robot?
Yeah, you could just go up there and... Because, see, my robot doesn't care. It just gets out of the way and, I don't care about that. And just
plays
yeah, it's
some music. It dances, too, though, right?
Oh, well, yeah, we'll follow a cat around.
Oh, so it has like a follow mode?
Yeah. It's got like a follow and then a stay away mode. And
how does the cat like that?
It's less impressed than I was.
Is that right?
Yeah. Didn't see the value in it that I did.
Whatsoever. Huh?
No.
This is cool. The cat's like, I don't think this is cool.
Yeah, I don't care about this.
Poor animal. So of the two, though, the one that is the most valuable is the organic one, though, right?
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
I mean, you're not going to run into the house if it's on fire to rescue the robot, but you might go in to save the cat.
Well, now I don't have the cat and just the robot, but that's because of a divorce. I lost the cat in a divorce.
At least you kept your robot, brother. I mean, a man's got to keep his robot, right?
Yeah, he's got to keep his machines near him at all times.
What's a man without his robot, huh?
Yeah, a man without a machine. What's that?
So recently we've been talking about quantum computing, like Google making the statement that they had achieved, this sort of mind-bending ability to do calculations, right? And I said, this is a huge deal. So does this person, so, who's more articulate, I'm sure, than I am. But this is from 10.medium.com, so I don't know what that is, but I saw it from, I use Smart News a lot, by the way. If people want to know how I sort of get my articles or where I get them from, I use aggregators because I don't have the time to just scour the internet for this. So sometimes they throw me these articles, and just because of the quality of the stuff I've gotten from the app, I tend to trust stuff a little more, or at least give it a spin and see what happens. So here we go. Quantum computing is a bigger deal than the internet. What happens when Moore's Law reaches its limits? So Eric, can you give me a synopsis, I guess, of Moore's Law, sort of, because we talk about that all the time. I don't think we've actually talked about what it is.
Yeah, well, it's just where technology increases at an exponential
synopsis. Sorry.
No, yeah. It's just where technology is increasing at an exponential rate.
Right.
Probably increasing faster than any other thing that's increasing, like technology is outstripping biology in terms of how we cope with stuff, and it can lead to stuff like future shock, which is where you just don't understand the present that you're living in because it's become your future and you're out of sync with it.
Right. And it really includes some really interesting dynamics, like
shrinking.
Like if you said, so like take up how big a piece, an electronic device, processor is. In 1 year, it'll be twice as fast,
twice as small,
half the size, and half the cost, right?
Yeah.
But it's
that's part of Moore's Law, yeah.
And for it to do the same thing again next time will take half as long.
Yeah.
So it's the exponential sort of increase in capability because the next level of capability is achieved because of the previous levels. Increase in capability, right?
But there's a hard wall that it's going to hit because there's a finite amount that each bit of information is going to cost you in terms of space.
Okay.
So at some point you can't shrink down past the space that it takes to contain information.
Well, yeah, you basically get to the atomic level at some point, right?
Yeah,
way out there. Well, not very, but out there on the spectrum, out there on the scale. You're going to get
right, and you can't have anything smaller than that. Unless it's in the quantum realm, right? We can't have anything smaller than the atomic level, and that if you're putting two things together, that takes X amount of space, and you can't shrink it down any further than that. You just can't.
It just is what it is. You're right. That's the hard limit you're talking about.
Yeah. So information does take up space. It doesn't take up a lot of space. The mechanisms we use to contain that information is what takes up space. We can keep shrinking those things down, but at some point we get to the size of the information, and you can't go smaller than the size of the information.
Right. Yeah, and there's also thermal limits too for how much energy you can consume in such a small area to actually get it to do something useful too. Like you start running into thermal issues where just everything gets saturatedly hot. A paper published in the Journal of Nature on October 23rd, researchers reported that the team behind Google's quantum computer Sycamore were able to use their machine to solve a problem in just 200 seconds. This wasn't just any problem. It was one so difficult it would have taken the world's most powerful traditional supercomputer over 10,000 years to complete. Damn. Right? This is just a tiny fraction of what quantum computers might accomplish. The present state of this technology might be compared to Orville and Wilbur Wright's powered plane tests at Kitty Hawk in 1903. We're just getting off the ground, but eventually could reach the stars. For hundreds of thousands of years, the only tools human beings had were sticks, stones, our brains, and eventually fire. But the greatest tool we've ever invented is the computer. In this tiny span of time extending from the mid-20th century to the present, we've entered a realm of exponential progress as processing power roughly doubles every few years. Intel founder Gordon Moore observed in 1965 that the number of transistors on a microchip seemed to double every 2 years, resulting in more computing power for lower costs. This growth has made possible the modern world as we know it, but now this rule, known as Moore's Law, is reaching its limit since computer parts are getting closer and closer to atomic size.
Yep, you shrink them down, but you can't go past that.
This is also why I feel that, I think more so now than ever, and maybe this is just so what I'm getting at is people are really struggling with how fast technology is changing their lives. Some people's lives, it's wreaking havoc on their lives because things are changing so fast.
Because now you're talking about that future shock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so every generation looks at the next generation with a little bit of sort of, well, you guys don't really know. We knew, you didn't have to do this. You didn't have to, you've had it so easy. But
the dichotomy being that those same people are living in a world that they don't completely understand
anymore.
Right.
And every day they understand it exponentially less. Mm-hmm. And that's got to be, but we're this is a hockey stick sort of change. Wrong. A hockey stick is like a sharp departure. This is a curve that's changing where it's doubling how much it changes in half the time every single time. So the change that people are experiencing is getting radically more and more every day for those that sort of don't.
The chart's going vertical. The chart's going vertical.
And you're screwed. Yeah, I mean, so if you're way back at the beginning of this chart where I was comfortable up to here. Yeah. Oh, bitch, you're in trouble, right? I mean, because it's just going to get worse and worse and worse for these folks, faster and faster and faster. Like, we're going to wake up and enormous changes have happened in technology, what feels like literally overnight. Like life-altering things are going to start happening rapidly.
Yeah.
Closer and closer succession. And it's all going to be technology-driven for sure.
Yep.
Anyway, I don't know why we went down that wormhole.
No, I see that in older people watching channels that are devoted exclusively to old television viewing, like the old westerns and stuff that used to play all the time. Like, a lot of times older people will tend to build a
cocoon.
Yeah, of things they're familiar with.
Cocoon.
Well, just what they're familiar with. Yeah. They don't really branch out and reach out too often willingly.
When you get to be middle-aged, you will inevitably, sooner or later, have to go and clean out an elderly person's home after they've. It could be a friend, it could be somebody, but there's an age that we reach where our parents start knocking off. You might be at a yard
sale,
or see this happening. But and it is interesting to see the things that they keep. Mm-hmm. That they hold on to, that they find value in, and thought that there was value in.
And the music they listen to when they're alive, and the TV program and all that, they haven't really moved up in time. and I know, I was talking with my buddy about this last night, and I think to some degree I was talking with Reed about this once, but just the idea that it seems like I'm 50, and at least 2 years ago, I got very involved in a type of music that was a new kind of music, that was a new genre, that definitely wasn't anything that I grew up with.
Right.
And I went crazy for it and loved it and stuff. And I would talk with younger people all the time when I was going to college and ask if they'd even heard of the genre, and they hadn't. Like, it was such a new genre that the younger people really weren't. But now there is some things that I do see that in, but I recognize it and move forward even if I dislike it. So like a lot of times when I'm asking people how they consume music, I tend to consume it in CD, wave, 16-bit, 4800, right? That's like a standard for me, and that's what I want to hear, right? But now they usually use SoundCloud or Bandcamp. Some kind of streaming method. Yeah, like if I've given people CDs of my music and they don't know. Yeah, they don't have nothing to listen to it on, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I have it on my SoundCloud too, and they're like, well, why didn't you just lead with that? And I'm like, because I'm 50 years old, I didn't realize everybody your age was already doing that in that way, but I understand. I do it too. It's just weird, right? It's like I do it, but to me it's a new thing that I'm doing and I'm comfortable with it, but I don't think outside the box often with it. Like I don't assume everybody else is doing it too, and really but the younger kids are, though. They are consuming it in that way, so it's interesting.
Well, there was a certain detractor for doing this kind of stuff at the level you're talking about because it was expensive, man. When you start doing these high bit format media files and things, they take up a lot of room. Now, take up a lot of room 5 years ago. Hard drive and memory technology today, not a big deal. And I think that has a lot to do with it too. Is like memory, like on your iPhone and the amount of memory you have available.
Because they were just born into that world.
People are recording like full blown motion picture movies, plots and everything, and they're doing it all on cell phones and iPads and shit now, man. It's crazy what's happening.
Well, yeah, and I see people who consume their music just in CD format, and they've got like their 3 to 6 stacks of CDs, right, that they've been listening to since they were in high school or whatever, and to like maybe, I don't know, the early 2000s or something, right? Looks like they bought a lot of stuff up till then. And that's about when the CD stores started leaving.
That just all the bottom just kind of fell out of it.
Right, yeah, and people started buying stuff digitally, right? So I see people that's got these stacks that range from about where they were in high school to about when the CD stores went away, when they couldn't actually physically, and that's it. And they listened to it as much as people did back in the 70s, like when there was a machine around that played that medium, right? But for me, I fully embrace, hey Siri, play whatever, right? And
you get sort of spoiled by that, don't you?
Yeah, or playlists or whatever, music on demand. I
carried a double-sided portfolio in a briefcase style thing of cassette tapes around with me for years.
Yeah, and
years
mixtapes.
Before I finally threw it away. I just threw the whole thing in a dump. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
I don't even have a cassette player, and I can get any of this off of YouTube or whatever. Why am I lugging this thing around, man?
I still have a cassette player in my car, and I was driving around today listening to Don Ho's Greatest Hit Volume 2. So I still embrace that technology as well.
Volume 2.
Volume 2, yeah.
I didn't even know there was a Greatest Hits Volume 1.
Well, that would have had tiny bubbles on it, but this one did not. That was probably like,
yeah.
I have the true underground hits.
Yeah.
Whatever they may be.
No, I'm not bashing on Don Ho. I just didn't realize his depth of work went to 2 volumes at least of greatest hits.
On cassette.
Well, for sure, on cassette. Was it like a 3? Was there a volume 3?
I don't know. It was in a thrift shop, and I paid 19 cents for it, and I thought, 19 cents? That's a weird amount.
That's a bargain.
Steal, yeah. And so I grabbed that and a lamp. I needed a lamp. I went in for a lamp, and I got Don Ho and a lamp, and went out, and I've been playing it ever since. I got it about a year and a half ago, and I play it regularly. Like, I know the words to the songs now, and I hum along with it, and there's ones I like more than others.
Don Ho's Greatest Hits.
Yeah, and anytime it's raining, Don Ho goes in. Yeah. If
it's dreary or whatever. It makes you feel
Ohio
good, doesn't it?
I don't know, man. The dichotomy is distracting, if nothing else.
Yeah,
right? I'm just like, this is really surreal, man.
I was sitting there watching it sleet and whatever, and I'm listening to Hawaiian music, wishing I was someplace tropical.
Sometimes I think about it, yeah.
That's what's going to happen, by the way, when the fans are eventually going to make it so that we move this show
into the tropics.
someplace in the tropics, and we'll record, and the backdrop will actually be the ocean somehow.
As long as there ain't no like bot flies or death mosquitoes or all those really bad things that tourists get when they take their first visit abroad.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the idea of our own island. We'll have our own currency and all that kind of shit. Dean Kamen did that. The guy I was telling you about in New Hampshire, they invented the Segway and all that.
He went and made his own currency?
He's got his own island. I think, I don't know if he still does, but yeah, he has his own island, and he declared its secession from the United States and created the island's own currency. It has its own currency and everything. I don't know, because Key West technically did that too. Can you look that up, Devlin? Key West secedes from the United States. That's Key West, Florida. You ever been? You've never been. We used to go down there. I had in the Navy, my squadron. We had a permanent deployment on one of the keys north of Key West called Boca Chica Key. So they called the Naval Air Station NAS Key West or Navy. It's the best kept secret in the Navy. It has this great little harbor. It's awesome. But I think that they actually one time seceded the Conch Republic. Yeah, that's right. It's now the Conch. Wikipedia has a thing on it. So it's got Route 1. You go. It's got Wendy's, McDonald's. It's got everything you said. But technically, it is not part of the United States. It's seceded. It's its own republic, the Conch Republic.
Nice.
That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it is.
So I didn't even know you could do that, but apparently you can. I've spent a lot of time drunk in Key West, my friend. Woo, really drunk. All right, we'll close that up. So what else we got here? Computers are essentially a collection of simple parts, blah, blah, blah. Right now, a transistor can be about 40 nanometers or smaller, almost 500 times smaller than an average cell in your body. That's one transistor, though your tag is still hanging off the bottom of your bottle, which defeats the whole purpose of removing the tags. So basically, quantum computers are doing crazy shit, right? Quantum internet is going to greatly increase information access to allow distributed computational efforts to reach even greater heights, right? So no longer will you buy a computer. You'll just buy access to the network, and then you'll tell a computer on the other end what to do, a supercomputer, and it'll just feed you the video from it or whatever.
Oh, Computer Prime.
Yeah.
I have a question.
One giant computer. Prime. Yeah, no, they named it right. Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
But it's Google, I think, is actually the ones that have done this.
Google Prime.
Google Prime. That'll be the merger.
Yeah. Google Primeplex.
It says, quote, "It's my personal belief that quantum computing will help us make sense of the deluge of data we find ourselves creating to solve some very interesting problems. We've seen that already in material science, where AI is going back through chemical computations and stuff and finding things that the researchers would have taken decades to figure out on their own.
Yeah, yeah.
From the existing data sets, which is what's fascinating. There are systems generating billions of data sets a day, and those might be the solution to some critical problems affecting society." William Hurley, chair of Quantum Computing Standards Work Group at the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, or the IEEE. I talk about them cats all the time at work. The quantum internet is going to increase information access and allow distributed computational efforts to reach even greater heights. One negative impact of quantum computing is that it vastly increases the speed at which someone can crack passwords or other security measures compared to brute force attempts using a traditional computer. But I don't think it's going to be something, maybe I'm wrong, but I think at least for a while, a quantum computer is going to be something you're going to buy some access to. But
could be.
It's sort of like the way websites are served up. Nobody serves up their own website. You buy that access on a server somewhere, just like cloud computing.
Certainly at first, man, they won't have a lot of this kind of computers. They won't be like home computers.
No, I wouldn't think so. And I got to imagine, that all of that speed has to come at a price of an energy cost.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. But I don't know how energy in the macro world really works in the micro world, or if it's even a matter of energy. It might just be a matter of solid collapse of a wave function or something.
At that, yeah.
So
this is the coup de grace, Devlin. Quantum computing might remove any conceivable distance that AI might face between its current state and the singularity.
Yeah, maybe, possibly.
So is that a skip ahead in capability? Is that what that is then?
Just the singularity is the
quantum
point.
leap, as it were. No pun intended.
Yeah, it would be if they can get this working like they're talking.
So the singularity is the point in the future when AI becomes self-aware. That's really, we've all watched the movies, so, the terror is real of thinking that we could accidentally create something that would subvert us as the governing power, ruling power on the planet, right? Isn't that really what the rub is?
Something that could rule better than us.
Yeah. Or do things just better than us.
That's the same thing, right? If you're at, that's how in this role playing game that I play occasionally, that's how things got started.
Sort of circles back there somehow,
it's kind of funny, isn't it? But they had a computer prime. That's what they actually called it in this game, and it helped govern. It helped divide resources and figure out logistical problems, and the government had access to it, and they would ask it questions, and 9 times out of 10, it provided the best results. So they started becoming dependent upon it. They didn't, science just kind of died off in people, right? People stopped being scientists because you could just simply ask this question. Anybody could ask this machine a question.
And it had every answer.
And it had the answer, right? When it happened faster than you could research it. So science kind of withered and died in the human condition. And then they became fearfully dependent upon this machine because they couldn't, at one point, they wouldn't be able to do anything if they shut it down. They'd kind of atrophied when it came to science and stuff.
It sort of falls in line with the whole, ever seen Idiocracy?
Yeah.
When they were putting sports drink on their fields because they got to the point where they thought that it would make them grow better, and basically they were killing everything. So this really average guy goes back or goes into the future somehow, and he's giving them these he's not super smart or anything, but compared to a society that became dependent on something else telling them what to do all the time, he was a genius.
Well, and as things got worse for society, the computer prime needed more and more control over things to make changes.
Yeah,
right?
to fix problems.
Right. And at one point, they needed something done, and they said, look, to do this, you're going to have to give me complete control over everything. And then that was the final blow. They turned the control finally over to it, and then it just went crazy with it. And eventually it decided that it's the best thing it could do to help the human condition was to try to preserve it, because they were going to wipe themselves out in some way, accidentally or purposely anyway. So it takes the people and divided them up and made these arcologies that represented different epochs in time.
Right, you told me about this.
Yeah. There's
sort of preserved these epochs and these arcologies.
Yeah, and cultures and stuff. It was like a Renaissance and a dome. There was a Western dome and the Neolithic dome and a 20s dome, and everybody that would live in there, that they thought that was their world. They didn't realize there was anything outside of it. It was kind of kept from them in various ways, which I won't go into. But
it's interesting. There's, that Seth MacFarlane Star Trek knockoff thing that he did. I can't think what it's called now. It's pretty good. I actually like it.
I've not seen it. Galaxy Quest?
No, that was the movie with Tim Allen.
Yeah,
that was really good too. I thought did a good job. What is it called? Yeah, I can't tell you right now. It's anyway. It's had at least 2 seasons on TV, but they came across it like an alien spaceship that was basically the exact same premise, that people were, if I remember right, were stored in different time zones, sort of inside this vessel that was where they were sequestered away to this thing and just sort of cast off into space because the planet didn't make it. But it was a way of sort of recording the history by trapping these people in those in those eras and things from their original planet. So there was a Little House on the Prairie sort of feel to the one that they were exposed to.
And the question always becomes: are these people truly free? They ended up calling them techno slaves. That they were slaves to technology and to a computer, but they couldn't really ever be free. They'd lost that.
It's the question is, and we answer this question all the time: should humans do things that machines can do better? Should humans do things that technology can do better? In almost every case, with a resounding yes, we say, yes, machines should just do, or no, humans shouldn't do things. Humans should not do things that machines can do better. It's safer for machines to do it. There's a lot of reasons why it's just so much better for machines to do this. But technology is going to move past putting screws in panels or putting liquids in bottles and putting caps on them. Sooner or later, it's going to start moving into other things that become very personal.
Well, they've got some that do surgery.
Yeah, they're absolutely right. They've been using robots, like giving doctors a third and fourth hand in surgeries and stuff, and microsurgery, the ability of these little articulate things to get into very much smaller incisions and be able to do things has been a big, huge benefit. But still, a human being, generally speaking, is mostly controlling that when they do that. But to your point, I think they are starting to move in where they have a narrowly scoped sort of artificial intelligence that sort of knows the procedure and can do things for the doctor, pre-programmed sort of things and make some subtle adjustments and stuff. But that's just the beginning, right? Eventually you're going to go in and say, I have X, Y. Well, we're not going to do any of that. We're going to snort the nasal spray that fixes this.
Or poop in the toilet.
Oh, and then it measures everything, right? We already talked about that.
Right.
The iToilet or whatever. It's a thing.
Yep.
That's scary. That's weird is what it is.
Speaking of
weird, something that comes up on the show all the time because it's my news feed and for some reason it thinks I'm interested in this. Probably because I keep opening them because I'm interested in them. I think this is hilarious. This one comes from Unilad. Swiss brothel sacks sex workers for cheaper sex dolls. So, okay.
That headline lost their job.
But in English, the whorehouse got rid of the human beings for sex, for animatronics and dolls.
Yeah, those humans are full of diseases. You got to get them out of there.
It says, warning, contains nudity. Woo.
Sex doll nudity.
Yeah. Woo. Here's your question of the day. What's better, a prostitute or a sex doll? Some people clearly have a preference, as one Swiss brothel has decided to swap the majority of its female staff for sex dolls. So I wonder which portion, I bet the portion of the female staff they're keeping is the mop and bucket portion of the female staff.
Unless somebody has some kind of specialties.
I guess that could be true. Yeah, trapeze artist, whatever.
Whatever it might be, I don't know.
Not that I'm into trapeze. Anyway,
I don't even know.
The Arsenal 51 brothel, located in Kriens, a city in the district of Lucerne in Switzerland, has replaced most of its prostitutes with sex dolls due to popular demand and cheaper prices. Cheaper prices. If you decide to enjoy the facilities brothel has to offer, you'll have more than 12 sex dolls to choose from. If you'd rather have sex with prostitute, there's only a couple left.
We still got any of those prostitutes in the back?
Yeah, any prostitutes laying around? I don't know, Bob. I'm just looking for something different tonight, Needs some convincing. Here's what the brothel has to say. The sex doll is the sex doll you've always dreamed of. She's always up for it, never has a headache, no periods or bad moods. She's always sexy, willing, and ready for you, and she will do anything you want with her. She can fulfill all your fantasies, and it comes at one low cost, right? Cash-strapped clients seem to favor sex dolls, but what's the cost difference? Well, the brothel offers dolls services at just 90 CHF, or about 70 pounds. So about $80.
Do they talk?
Well, we're going to find out. Some of them,
what?
Some of them do. Didn't you see Whitney Cummings' no pun intended, her last comedy special? She had a sex doll made that looks like her, and it talks and shit.
Well, they don't complain.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's really creepy.
Yeah.
I think that's what got me, because she's a comedian I like. I think that's what actually kind of got me heading down this road, by the way. And that's probably what polluted my news feed, was watching clips from her special. But her last comedy special on Netflix was really interesting. And one of the things that's in it, she had a sex doll that was made to look like her. And it's creepy as fuck. And it talks, and like you can ask it questions and it gets confused. And like some of the questions she was asking, it was, it sounded like it had a Definitely had like a psychopathic streak to it. Yeah, it was a little creepy.
It's kind of fucked up.
It's a little messed up, man. It sure is. Okay, so $70 a session for the sex dolls. Real prostitute starts at about $180, so more than double the price.
Huh. That's interesting.
If you don't want to go all the way to the brothel, they also provide a service where they can bring the chosen sex doll to the punter's home if required. To the punter's home? That must be some sweet...
it's like carouser.
Okay.
Like
it's an English term then?
I think it's English. Like they call them, or maybe, Scottish, because they call them punters when they're in bars. Like they'll say, if someone's playing an instrument and singing, they'll be playing for punters, they'll say.
Devlin? What do you got? Oh, he's going to put it on the screen. A punter.
I found it.
Yeah, because we're guessing.
It's like a term of art. London slang for customer may also be used for Johns among prostitutes and police agents, people who watch porn movies or go to strip joints regularly. Well, you learn something new every day, Mr. Smith. Right there, bringing value to the world.
Yeah.
No shit, Cass.
No shit, yeah. It was a little bit of all of our ideas were kind of packed into that. It's all those bad things. It's the worst quality of carousing. Right? It's like bad carousing. People it's going to be carousing for prostitutes and getting drunk and that sort of thing.
Well,
seedy carousing.
When it started to say if you don't want to go to the brothel, the first thing that went through my mind is Pelican case. You know what a Pelican case is? Like those hard black cases you always see in movies. It's got like a rocket launcher or something. They're called Pelican cases. And we use them a lot to pack equipment and stuff in that we ship to job sites and things. So my first thought was this wheeled Pelican case that has a built-in dolly. UPS shows up at your house. Ding dong. You open the door and there it is. You go out, wheel it in, open the freaking Pelican case up, and there she is. And you're not breaking any laws anywhere, right? UPS brings it to your door when you're done. They give you an RMA. You call UPS. They come back, pick it up. Off it goes.
It's like that. Be My Girl Sally at the end of the second to last song at the end of Outlandos d'Amore from The Police's first album.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. No.
But you know their first album, right?
I know of it. Yeah.
It's got Roxanne on it, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. But
Outlandos d'Amore.
That's probably the only song off the first Police album that I know. Synchronicity was after that, right?
Oh yeah, it was like the last one.
That was sort of my, and I know probably not a lot of people's era, but that's the era of the Police that I like the best.
Okay. Yeah, this is off their first album. It was called Be My Girl Sally, and it's partial song and partial, I guess, limerick maybe, or poem. Okay. And I'm not sure if they wrote this themselves, but it goes, and some of you may know this. I was blue and lonely. I couldn't sleep a wink, and I could only get unconscious if I'd had too much to drink. There was somehow something missing somewhere, and each day seemed gray and dead. The seeds of desperation were growing in my head. I needed inspiration, a brand new start in life, somewhere to place affection, but I didn't want a wife. And then by lucky chance I saw in a special magazine an ad that was unusual, the like I'd never seen. It said experience something different with our new imported toy. She's loving, warm, inflatable, and a guarantee of joy. She came all wrapped and garbled, all pink and shriveled down. A breath of air was all she needed to make her lose that frown. And so I took her to the bedroom and pumped her with some life. And later, in a moment, that girl became my wife.
Oh, God.
And so I set her in the corner, and I sometimes stroke her hair, and when I'm feeling naughty, I blow her up with air. She's cuddly, and she's bouncy. She's like a rubber ball. I bounce her in the kitchen, and I bounce her in the hall. And so my life is different since Sally came my way. I wake up in the morning and have her on a tray. She's everything they said she was, and I wear her again and again. And I only have to worry in case my girl wears thin.
Yeah. And then you just order a new one anyway.
Yeah, that's at the end of that album. So.
What the fuck?
Right, and this is like from 1979. Yeah. This album is. So.
This used to be I think it was more of a novelty sort of thing. It was like a funny thing, you know. I could see bikers with them on the back of their motorcycles and stuff.
It is indeed a funny thing.
I'm not sure that it ever. I mean, I could be wrong, but the whole concept of a latex sex doll being a replacement or an analog for a woman or whatever this doesn't seem.
Imagine at the brothel having to clean these things.
Because
you have to.
Well, that's what I was talking about. They said they were keeping part of their female staff, but I wondered if it. Obviously, now it says that they still have a couple hookers, like Eric said, a couple hookers laying around. But I wondered if it was like. If they were the cleanup crew, they went in with the power washer and
these guys got to go. we can't save these guys.
They got those face shields, and the sprayer and all the anti-disinfectant stuff and the respirator.
As an owner of a brothel, I have this problem. When disease strikes, it just keeps spreading around. What do I do? How do I keep my brothel business and not have to deal with this?
Yeah.
I know.
It is a new phenomenon that a brothel has almost only sex dolls on offer and not many prostitutes. The fact that they have more sex dolls than people is something I see as a one of. I do not have any knowledge that this is something widespread. This is from the Snurfstrup. Explain. I don't know what a Snurfstrup is. Sounds like something you would see in a Dr. Seuss movie, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
The Snurfstrup,
Go grab that.
Yeah, go give me the Snurfstrup. Sex dolls are something offered by most brothel operators, though, and most offer this service to keep up with the competition. Sex dolls were never something that have come up as a topic of conversation between the sex workers and myself.
Great brothel. They just got to join the 20th century and get some sex dolls.
Got to get you some sex dolls. Can't imagine sex dolls taking over completely from prostitutes. Can't really comment on customers' wishes, but I know many punters want more than just sex. A sex doll cannot replace human contact. Yeah, but apparently it's a fucking budget enough, cheap enough alternative for a lot of people.
Oh my God. Jeez.
It's a strange world we're moving into. Moore's Law is affecting everything, right?
I've maintained on many a show that's how the human race will die out. All the guys will just have sex with the robots and dolls.
I think it's far more likely that you're close. And what I mean by that was the thing that you turned me on to the other day about CRISPR and people editing their genes. I think you're going to get to a point where people are going to have the choice. You can procreate.
Or not.
Or you can be superhuman.
Or you can have...
But you're not going to be able to do
glowing
both.
Babies, perhaps.
No, what I mean is that those children, once you've edited your genes enough, you won't be, unless you can find someone that has a hospitable genome that's been edited in a way that's hospitable to your DNA.
You've done edited yourself out of the human race.
I think people that will be born, that are organically born, will have that choice. You can either live a natural life and be able to procreate and staying within the confines of the genetic, and then maybe after you have children, you can make that choice, or you could be superhuman. But I think that that's going to have a dampening effect on humanity overall.
Have you guys had a chance to see that video?
No, I did see that they are on Netflix, I think. I found the ones you were talking about. It was like a 3-part series or something like that. Yeah. But I already forgot what the name of it was, but I bookmarked it.
Okay, I never did remember. I couldn't remember last time.
Yeah,
it's something different.
I think if you just go, because Netflix has that search function, you can go in and look up things by type, and they have those type of documentaries and stuff in there. And I think if you look up like genome or DNA, it'll show you all the stuff associated with that. And it's I think it's like a 3-part series. But there was a guy like sitting in someone's living room talking about it with people around him, and he was explaining how this is all going to change everything and stuff. And I think that was reminiscent of, it was what you were telling me. And then they kept showing some guy like literally doing work in like a small shed outside his, it looked like it was outside his house or something.
Yeah, all this used to be D&D, like sitting with people in their living room explaining how the game works and rolling up characters, then going out in the garage or the shed and having a game or something. But now it's like gene hacking.
It's crazy.
Moore's Law.
And way easier and way more attainable than I think anybody ever expected would be true.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought this was one of them things that was only born in mad scientist laboratories and things like that. And it's like, nope, you can order this shit on Amazon
we'll
or whatever.
Have to get a cloud chamber and a little CRISPR pack. I mean, it sounds very lunchable, doesn't it? CRISPR Pat.
Sounds yummy. Like, so, not
Bad science.
the end of
Dr.
mankind
Moreau.
or anything, right?
Yeah.
It would be called ZD90 or something. It'd have some, but CRISPR?
Yeah.
Sounds like
Ooh.
chips. Yeah, I got that CRISPR over there.
Can I get the one with chocolate?
Hey, can I get sour cream and onion CRISPR? How about salt and vinegar CRISPR?
Barbecue CRISPR?
Barbecue. Got to have the barbecue CRISPR. I don't know what that does, but it sounds yummy. So this is from Futurism. Ambrosia is back to selling transfusions of young people's blood. Devlin, want to make some money?
Where do I sign up?
What is dead may never die. That was from God, I'm about to the HBO Game of Thrones. What is dead will never die. One of the clans or one of the island people.
I didn't watch the last 2 years of that.
They had to drown themselves to be, I don't know, it was the whole thing. Ambrosia Health is back following a brief shuttering and then a rebranding effort during which it was known as IV Plasma. The, quote, Young Blood Clinic has gone back to its roots, selling plasma sourced from the blood of 16 to 25-year-olds to healthy patients who believe the transfusions can give them ill-defined health benefits.
I like those ill-defined benefits.
Gotta make sure we put that in there. But, okay, I think I'll be the judge of that. Right? Quote, people really like the Ambrosia name and brand, so Ambrosia is going to continue. Ambrosia founder and Youngblood advocate Jesse Karmazin. He doesn't sound like an apocalyptically evil person. Jesse Karmazin told 1-0. There's another one. Weird, another article from them, right? Quote, the resounding response from people wanting to sign up was keep things the same, so that's what we're going to do.
It's like, it's the vampires, right? They're like, yeah, you keep things the same. Like forever, dude.
Yeah, listen,
because we're going to be living
keep
forever.
Things
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
You will not change the name.
No. This is how we all know, man.
With the return to its original branding, Ambrosia is also embracing a new business model. There will be a new business model. There will be a new business model. When it was IV Plasma, the clinic offered transfusions in San Francisco and Tampa. It since shuttered the clinic in Tampa, but Karmazin told Futurism that Ambrosia will ship plasma directly to any customer's doctor so they can get their dose of young blood without having to fly to California.
Now we know where the vampire hotspots are.
California. Doesn't that make sense, though?
It does to me, man.
I think there was a band called LA Vampires or something like that, right? Back in the 80s
Maybe.
and 90s. Quote, we use overnight shipping to deliver the plasma to patients, doctors' offices.
Very interesting.
Overnight.
Mm-hmm.
It's still warm when you get it.
Well, yeah, but it's at night.
With
no sun.
With no sun. I think you're onto something, Mr. Smith. We're going to get you a tinfoil hat. Keep us up, man. I'm feeling
That's
it,
where
brother.
the real conspiracy is, the vampires that control the world.
To doctors' offices and provide training for doctors to infuse it. I would think doctors would know this already, wouldn't you?
Doctors' offices.
Okay. Yeah.
They mean lead vampire.
Yes. Please come in. Sit down on the table. Karmazin told Futurism last month this way that the number of patients we are able to serve has increased dramatically. I don't operate a blood bank. This is a thing, man. Like, this is legitimate.
Look, it's just reminding me of when they found the black market for body parts. I mean,
Keep going, I sneeze.
Yeah, man. Like, we found out that there was like this whole group of people that was involved in the shipping and handling and transportating of parts to people that wanted them, that would buy them on the black market. Like,
it was really creepy, right, when we saw that.
Yeah, because they found this house that was kind of like a storehouse for it temporarily until they were sent out to other places, kind of like a hub or something. It was just like some dude's house and a bunch of body parts in it. Like, now there's this. Now there's like, it's a overnight delivery.
This is funny because in a lot of the sort of conspiracy theories world of, Alex Jones and the InfoWars and these different kinds of places, they talk about, these vampires and then using the blood of young people to and then it's like, no, fucker, it's just you just
dial it up.
It's on the internet. They're not even
get your CRISPR, get your blood, get your young blood,
this
your CRISPR.
Sounds like the plot of an Illuminati thing or something, or one of them kind of things. No, it's just something anybody can look up and do.
Yeah, talk about the police coming to your house. Looks like you guys ordered a CRISPR, a cloud chamber, a spare leg, and young blood. We're just here
and
to
a
make
sex doll.
Yeah.
And a pelican case. Let's see, Mr. Smith. Okay, I think that's everything. You have a crazy fun weekend. I'm gonna. Ambrose's checkered on again, off again status was spurred by an FDA statement issued in February in which the regulatory agency warned that transfusions of young blood didn't have any of the health benefits, especially enhanced youthfulness, improved longevity, or reversed memory loss that advocates claimed it did. Now, I've heard that that's not the truth, but I'm not sure I heard it from a credible source. So,
I mean, to a vampire, it would do all these things.
Yes, it's very good. It's good for the complexion.
Yeah.
In slightly more words, the FDA essentially called young blood transfusions a dangerous scam. Because of the FDA warning, Karmazin's clinic offered off-label treatments when it resurfaced as IV plasma. That meant that customers could get their treatments if they desired, but they did so at their own risk. And then IV plasma wasn't legally permitted to claim it would do them any good. I mean, what happens when you have an adequate amount of blood and then you get more?
I don't know.
I know what happens. They give you IV fluids, and like if you're drunk, I witnessed that firsthand. Someone being extremely drunk and then getting IV fluids and then like sobering up super fast because it lowers your blood alcohol ratio because it gives you more blood. But I don't think like it's good for your kidneys and shit.
Maybe not.
To be having blood transfusions when you haven't already lost blood. I could be wrong. Maybe a doctor, I'm assuming there's a doctor that watches this, can give us a comment down below.
Wouldn't you pop
somewhere?
Like, wouldn't you like explode?
Look, I have visited people in the hospital, the elderly people that was a good friend of mine that was slightly anemic, and we were like, hey, buddy, okay, see you when you get home. They were releasing him, and they gave him a transfusion, and he was dead like 20 minutes later. That's what I mean. Like he went into like organ failure from it somehow, and it killed him. Yeah, it was bizarre. But I mean, look, he was extremely old. He was a very old gentleman that was a friend of mine. But so I don't think this is necessarily, like a good thing. I don't think there's anything routine about putting someone else's blood in your body to begin with. So you better have
unless you're a vampire.
Well, back to that again, right? Thank you for bringing me back out of the public service announcement back to what we do best, which is make fun of shit. Right?
But if vampires were real, this would be great.
The practice continues today in the newly rebranded Ambrosia, according to 10, but the clinic's updated website includes more details about the treatments. Quote, our treatments have been found to produce statistically significant improvements in biomarkers related to Alzheimer's disease, cancer, inflation, and stem cells. In our clinical trial, the website reads, patients have reported subjective improvements in athletics, memory, skin quality, sleep, and other areas. It does seem very vampire-like. Like all of these benefits are fountain of youth type shit, right?
Yeah, and the people that would be experiencing those probably are vampires.
Well, technically, if you're consuming the blood of younger people, not because of your hemorrhaging.
You too are a vampire.
I mean, by definition, are you not?
I don't know.
You're consuming the blood. Maybe you're not sucking it out of the jugular vein, but you're still taking the blood of somebody else and putting it into yourself because it benefits you. Now, you're not doing that because of any acute medical condition like I severed an artery and I need blood or whatever. Yeah, you're doing it. No, you're doing it for strictly like lifestyle purposes.
Yeah,
that could be corrected through different things like diet, exercise, stem cells and stuff. When asked whether the FDA's rules had grown more lenient, Karmazin told Futurism he had consulted with the agency as well as a number of lawyers and wasn't worried about the claims made on his website. Quote, I'm comfortable with going ahead and offering this treatment commercially to patients, he told
Hey, man, if you want to put whatever you want to put inside you, even if it kills you, I'm totally down with that.
Well,
you can do that.
I sort of struggle with that, too. It's like, why can't you sell a kidney? You know?
I mean,
you can't, though. I mean, there's an ethical reason for that. Although I've seen TV commercials, and I was like, where they show this sort of weird dystopian dark concrete hallway, and it's got like water running through it, so it looks like a tunnel. And there's all these people standing in line, and the premise of the commercial is that they're waiting for liver transplants. And then, but there might be another way. And someone sort of walks up and pulls this guy out of line and takes him, you know, away. And sort of the innuation is that there's a service you can use that can get you a liver transplant faster than waiting in the lines. And I'd seen it for a while, and I was like, wow, ethically, how are they pulling that off? Because you can't like just sell a kidney. You can do it on like a black market.
But maybe regrowing one or something like that with the
implication I got from the commercial was that there was another way to get you a liver.
Yeah, like genetically.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're lab-grown livers. They've taken someone else's, taken the different types, because there's a blood type match.
That's one of the things they've been
saying
they could do with CRISPR was make organs. Make your own organs.
From your own genome.
Yeah. That's what they were saying. So I'm just wondering if it has anything to do with that.
It might be lab-grown, or where they take a piece of your healthy liver tissue, and because they can do that, right, with stem cells. From what I understand, they can do that, so they could grow you enough liver tissue to put it back in you, and then it would continue to grow. That's what they do.
But from what I understand, the CRISPR means it just grows inside of you. It just comes back normally, just like your genes told it to grow there in the first place. They just turn that gene back on until you grow another liver, and it shuts back down again.
That's wild. Wow, that's wild. Dan, this whole thing is just killing me with, it's like,
you got to watch that documentary.
I'm going to. I got to have the time.
Yeah, I know. I haven't finished it yet either,
I'm
man.
either doing this right now or I'm writing and validating code. Like, that's my whole world. And, I play some Overwatch. I shouldn't say that. I take time.
Well, don't count that.
I was talking about this with Kenny Schaefer, actually, too, from Thought Dump. And we were talking about, he's same way, finally his schedule's opening up. And I need to start making time for the things that I need to do. Like going back to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and getting back to the gym. Like, I use the excuse of the and I'm not saying they weren't legitimate excuses, but I use like the excuse of the job and things that were going on at work, then buying the house, moving the studio. Like, I had all these things going on, and from that I sort of got out of going. And
you really enjoyed it.
I do. That's not like I don't like it or whatever, but it's not that at all, right? It's a and it's great for me, and I get a tremendous amount out of it, but it's making myself go do it, and I can't figure out. It's like, I love doing this. Why is this a thing? Well, what it is there's other interesting shit.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And I just need to make that time and say that yes, but this is interesting too, and I've got to segregate this, separate
prioritize what's important.
This time has to be here for this, yeah. And not let things get in the way. When I was traveling too, I was like trying to go to gyms and things. I would take my stuff with me if I had the time, and I'd hit gyms on the road as well. But that never really manifests. I think that was sort of a pipe dream. Because when I'm out doing these startups, we never have time. We're working 12 to 17 hours a day. I mean, it's go, 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 go. Okay, so this one was for Devlin, this article. I thought we'd get him included here. Riot opened the League of Legends World Championship with a holographic hip-hop concert. Does that make you happy, Devlin?
They did this last year.
Did they?
They did. It was pretty good.
True damage.
Well, they were doing it's a half like real like artists on stage, and then half of the like League of Legends characters they have in the skin line for True Damage in their getup on stage as holograms. It's pretty cool. I should show you guys after the show. It's not bad. I like it. They released them earlier today, like the videos.
Yeah. So if you can go, if people are interested, and you can actually go watch this and see the merger, right, between holograms and actual.
Yeah, they dance around on stage. It's like interesting, or like you don't actually see them on stage. You see them on like the big screens and the Megatrons.
Okay.
But when Riot put them on their YouTube channel, you'll see them like simultaneously.
Very cool. Let's take a look at this, man. True Damage takes the stage in Paris, Once again, a virtual music group stole the show at one of the biggest esports events of the year. Back in 2018, the opening ceremonies of the League of Legends World Championships featured an incredible augmented reality K-pop performance. I never even knew what that was until like my kids started explaining it to me. I'm like, what the hell are you listening to? K-pop. I'm like, aren't those things you put in your mouth and they sizzle? They're like, no. This year, developer Riot took things a step further with a stunning concert featuring holographic performers that opened the show before Europe's G2 took on China's FPX. Those are team names, right, Devlin? Those are like...
Yep. Yes, they are.
People that aren't following esports... I mean, these things are some of the highest. How many people watches on regular, Devlin?
I have to look it up. It's a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big deal, and it's a worldwide audience. Like these Overwatch tournaments and things, team tournaments that they have, like millions and millions of people watch these things, and it's not just from any one country either.
Riot will actually balance their characters in the game based off of the world event. Like this giant competitive event. They balance their champions not based off of player needs, but off of pro player needs.
Okay.
You know? So it's balanced for the world's event, and yeah. It's really interesting. They make a lot more of their money through this event than anything else.
This is how they make their money, really, because the game is free for anybody that wants it, right?
Yeah, microtransactions like skins and loot boxes
are available.
Yep, and then they also have these things called Prestige Edition skins, which they'll take a skin line that just came out, like True Damage, and they have this one Prestige skin, which is like a golden version of one of the skins. It's $100. People buy this.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. And how long has this game been around now? It's been a while.
10 years. It just hit its 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, it's a decade of people playing the same freaking video game, man. Cool. And they have these enormous... The thing with esports that's really interesting is that, to me, or that I like, is like, I'm a fan of pro football and have been for a long, long time, right? But there's no way I'm ever going to get to feel like what it feels like to be a pro football player. But in esports, you can get your ass tore up by somebody that really knows what they're doing and something that you think you know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like anybody can, because there's no liability, really. It's not like if I get on the football field and go against an NFL player, I'm going to get destroyed. Yeah. Right? Same thing would happen if I decided I was going to be a cage fighter, right? I would just get annihilated by the guys that really do it. But that doesn't mean that I can't sit back and criticize and say, armchair quarterback is the term, right? Yeah. And say, well, he should do this, and I can't believe he did that. But at least in these sports, you can actually get in and play the game and compete and with people that are at extremely high levels and see, oh, look, these guys that are playing at this level are so far beyond me, kind of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's neat because I think it's really character defining that way. I think it's easier for the fan to relate, I guess is what I'm getting at, because you can actually go and participate. Whereas the most we ever could do was throw the football around in the yard, right? If that, and play and tackle each other without pads or whatever. But that was about you get some high school, but the vast majority of people never play beyond a high school level. Even get to a high school level is pretty tough. So let's see. The event, which took place in Paris, featured the brand debut of a brand new in-game musical group called True Damage that was revealed earlier this year. Some of the characters even have outfits designed by Louis Vuitton.
Ooh.
That's nuts.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Game. This is a video game.
There's money in it.
Oh, right. Exactly. If there's money in it, yeah.
That's where you need to be.
I tell people.
Artist and designer.
If the money's right, I'd lick toilets in a bus station. I'm not cheap, but I can be bought, Mr. Smith. A large, nearly invisible screen on the stage featured holographic projections of in-game characters and other special effects alongside the real-world performers. At times, multiple versions of the performers were displayed, and it was genuinely hard to tell what was real. At one point, a giant tornado tore across the stage. Pretty neat. There's video. You obviously, Devlin was saying you can go watch this, right?
Yeah, it's really good. I've seen the music video that came out before.
I'm going to put this up, but we won't hear the sound, so I don't think we can get. We're in any kind of trouble by putting this up on the screen for a second.
That's how it usually works with broadcasts and like stores and restaurants.
So we're kind of watching a stadium. It's very, there's a lot of people here watching the screens. Where was this, Devlin? Where did this take place? It was in Paris. France, right? Yeah, well, come on, let's get to the part where something jumps out on stage and impresses the shit out of me here. I'm going to fast forward.
They're showing off the teams right now.
Okay, there's people dancing and shit. Oh, I see. So there's a screen in front of them, too.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
No.
Yeah, there would have to be.
Giant explosion.
Yeah. So they're projecting. They're projecting on the screen that's in front and behind them. So the performers are actually in between two semi-transparent screens.
Yeah, you want to play True Damage Giants in order to actually see the one in the middle.
Down here, this is the one that has the actual. I'm just going to bump out here so you can hear what we're talking.
Yep. There.
Oh yeah, that looks neat as shit. That's kind of like when you watch pro sports today, they project stuff onto the field, like advertisements and things, but the players can't actually see this stuff.
Yeah.
This is sort of the same idea, but the people can actually see it.
Yep.
Oh, she's busting her rhyme. I don't know what she's talking about, but she's tearing it up.
Yeah, she actually, what's interesting about this is the character that she's singing for is a part of the K-pop group from last year.
Okay.
And people are upset that they were reusing her. But
I don't know that I would go so far as to calling this holograms, though. I think that they're overusing that term.
That looks cool, though.
I mean, I think it's a real interesting trick of the way you can use projected screens and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's nothing I'm not trying to shit on it. I think it's amazing what they've done here. Okay. I think it's really neat, but I think they're using projections. For instance, if you change the camera angle, so for the people that aren't looking at this straight ahead, the way the camera's seeing it, it's not going to look the same because that stuff's not going to line up right anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So there's a very specific camera angle that if you're watching it from that angle, it looks amazing. But to take this on the road, I think it won't play as well.
You need a box. It need to be a box instead of just one screen.
Well, it's two. It is a box. If you go back and look at the video, which I'm not going to pull that open, but it is kind of a box. So there's a screen in the front of the stage and there's a screen in the back of the stage, and they're both semi-transparent. So when they project stuff onto it, it's polarized in such a way that it reflects that light, but not the light coming at it from different directions, so you can see through it. Does that make sense?
It's its own augmented reality field.
Yeah, but to call that a hologram per se is kind of a misnomer. It's like, that's not really a hologram. That's just a real interesting way of using projector screens.
Yeah.
J-pop groups actually utilize this.
That's
a lot.
Yeah, I bet it's an amazing experience to see it. Now, the narrower you make that space, the less parallax issue you're going to have as an audience member. But the wider that you make that space so that you can do more inside of it as a dancer or the actor, the entertainer, the more parallax is going to have an issue with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate being an engineer sometimes. Like, I suck the fun out of everything. My favorite.
That's my parallax example right there.
I wanted to put this out. I put this out on Facebook a while ago. I love your parallax example. I'm not forgetting about it. I brought the next article up, so my head was kind of heading that way. But Luddites. Let's talk about Luddites for a second. Okay.
What?
Some of my Luddites are people that don't adopt technology or have a real hard time adopting new technology.
Oh, okay.
Okay. They're some of my favorite people. And I'll tell you why. And it started, the realization hit me when they put in the self-checkout counters, whatever you call them, self-checkout lanes at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. When that happened, I realized how much I love and appreciate Luddites.
Yeah.
Because they don't use those. And because they don't use them, there's never a line at them. They'll stand in lines, 5 and 6 people deep at Walmart with people like 3 and 4 carts full, and they'll stand in that line and wait. And you can just walk up to the self-checkout line and be out of the store in 10 minutes.
To be fair, some people do that because they think it's wrong that they have to check themselves out. They think, I don't work at the store.
Yeah,
I'm not checking myself out.
Yeah.
That's your job. And some people think they're helping take jobs away from people.
I get that too. But I build machines for a living, so fuck them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I just kind of,
Right.
I like machines, man. So look, I'm being facetious. I love everybody. Good God. No, I find the machines way more efficient and way more pleasurable as an interaction, because I don't often like talking to the checkout people. In any kind of professional capacity. I find nowadays, especially, the concept of customer service is long since gone. It's weird. It's
And most customer service people do sound like they're chained to their station. Hi, how you doing? Love you all.
Yeah,
thank you.
Look, I've talked to 300 people today. I really don't have a conversation with you too about whatever, kind of thing. Yeah,
how you doing today?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. 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 But that whole piece, of, like I said, that whole part of customer, you're just another, number in so many ways, especially at stores today. I got a friend of mine that freaks out every time he gets poor customer service at like a big box store. And finally I was just like, dude,
that's going to be a long, ongoing situation.
They don't care if you ever come back to this store. The fact that you're upset that your customer service was terrible, they don't give a shit about. They just do not care. It's like, I got a job to do. You're in the way.
Yep.
Oh, boo-hoo. You're never coming back. Like, because you're coming back.
Yeah.
You're going to have
or
to
somebody
sooner or
will
later.
Be.
Yeah.
Enough people will be
or
that
enough
you won't
other
be
people
missed.
will that they don't care anyway.
Yeah.
We're like, we've reached that weird saturation level now where finding companies that really value their customers is becoming rare.
Yeah,
it is.
And another thing that's weird about these self-checkout lines is when you're in a line with a cashier or a live person, the people behind you in the line are right up against you.
Yeah.
Like they're like one arm's length away from you, but if you're checking yourself out, they treat it like it's some kind of weird ATM or something.
Yeah, and they all stand back.
Yeah, until
they
you're
all stand
done.
back.
And that's I think what I like the most about it, right? Like
I love that part of it.
Space.
So I just wanted to give a shout out to the Luddites. Thank you for not adopting technology, because you get the fuck out of the way for the rest of us who will. And we can do the things that we do much more efficiently because of you. And I from the bottom of my heart, I just wanted to say thanks. Speaking of Luddites, this comes from CBC. This Canadian. I called a person a Canadian one time as a joke, and they got really pissed at me. Why many Canadians don't love self-checkout? Apparently, a lot of Luddites in Canada. Only 11% of respondents in a survey said they use the automated machines regularly. I seek them out. The automated kiosks at restaurants.
They get them at
stores.
Taco Bell here now, too.
Yep. McDonald's has them. White Castle has them. Brendan Best says self-checkout isn't worth his time because something often goes wrong, forcing him to seek assistance. No, that's because you haven't taken the time to learn how the stupid thing works.
More than likely.
It wouldn't slow you down. Quote, I would not like to have that type of hassle, so I try to go through cashier lines, said Best, who lives in Halifax. There's nothing in it for me.
He would rather have a different kind of hassle.
A different hassle, right? Standing around. Why are you in such a hurry? Why aren't you? I've got better shit to do than this. A new grocery shopping study out of Dalhousie University suggests many Canadians have dabbled in self-checkout, but few have found the reason to embrace the technology, which, along with reducing labor costs, is supposed to make shopping more convenient. I find it does make shopping more convenient.
Yeah.
Significantly. Yeah.
I tend to use self-checkout lines unless I do want interaction with somebody, which I do sometimes, and then I'll go through a line, but I will rarely wait butt with somebody in the line to get to someone. I'll rather wait in that weird line that's at the self-checkout where they give you your space.
It's because of... I travel and shit a lot. So I'm always doing the airport thing. I'm always doing the hotel thing. I'm always doing the rental car thing. And I have apps for all of that shit now. All of it. And I've gotten it down. I have it down to a point where I can get from my house to my hotel in another state, in another part of the country,
and not speak
and
to
basically
no one.
not talk to anybody. Or very, very minimal conversations with people, and get all the way to my hotel, and it be like I just glide through, society without no issues at all. No, because of the way I have it down to a rhythm. I know how to buy the tickets the right way and different things that it just makes it so I just glide right through the whole experience. I even have, have the special check so that I can go through the special TSA line and don't have to stand and watch somebody get pissed because they can't bring an entire tub of peanut butter on the fucking airplane with them. Not even kidding. I've watched these types of arguments, like no liquids, no food, da-da-da-da. Well, this ain't a liquid. It's, why are you bringing
where are you going with there's not peanut butter?
Family-sized jar of peanut butter on you for a flight that's going to last an hour and 20 minutes. Like, what are you preparing for here? Somewhere along the way, it could crash on a deserted island.
And you're the only one with a tub of peanut butter, so you're going to be the first one dead? Yep.
Airports are the most interesting place to people watch.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, it's because malls are gone.
I hear you have to do it on
airports,
shrooms, though.
I bet that could be fun.
That's what I've heard. I've not done it.
I've done it intoxicated before, but I've never done it on it. I've never taken any kind of mind-altering drug, but I've never attempted it. But I'm sure it would be from what I understand, it'd be fascinating. Wow, man! I watched somebody at an airport that I'm pretty sure was enjoying life on mushrooms. She was a fascinating lady, and she had like this big bonnet style hat and things. And she's very attractive. I mean, younger woman, and she was just walking around the airport, just singing her heart out and like talking to Jesus and all this kind of stuff. And I guess she was really nervous about flying, but
wow.
But I wondered. I'm like, is she on something? Am I missing something here? Like, out of the 1,053 people surveyed in October, 2/3 said that they have tried the machines when grocery shopping. However, just 11% of those shoppers report that they use them regularly, while the rest opt to use self-checkout only occasionally. See, that's my point. That puts you in 11%, which is, you just like, it's the ditch line. It's
there's
like,
no one there usually.
It's the fast lane. It's your own fast lane kind of thing. The survey's margin of error was 3.1 percentage points, 19 out of 20 times. So anyway, yes, again, thank you, Luddites. Apparently people in Canada are still struggling. What do you guys think about the self? Obviously you like it. Devlin, how do you feel about, like, does it bother you to use a self-checkout, or do you think it's a generational thing?
It's a generational thing. I love using self-checkouts.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's like a weird, how would you explain? It's like I don't know. It's like an alternate lane of life, like, between the stores and the restaurants and and the apps and everything. Like, if you get tuned into this shit, man, you just, like, life gets super.
Life in the fast lane.
Yeah. I'd rather fight with a self-checkout than with a
human.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking humans, man.
Not me. I can make a human feel stupid. I can never make a machine feel stupid.
A machine can make you feel stupid, though, can't it?
Exactly.
No,
I'll take my role with humans.
I was talking to my wife about this earlier today.
If I'm going to argue, I'm going to go with humans.
Machines are just so predictable in so many ways, like so much more predictable, and they don't get hurt feelings, and they don't do any of that kind of shit. And they make sense. They may be confusing until you figure out what's going on, but once you figure out what's going on, it's like, oh, that makes sense. Humans, they're not like that.
They're not going to make sense. You can have fun with them, but they're not going to make sense.
Yeah. But that's sort of the allure of humans, is because, especially women, because they change so often, they're never boring. It's like, it's never dull. That's what I tell my wife. She's like, I'm crazy, or I'm this, I'm that. I'm like, no, honey, you're never boring. I'm glad you think so. This one actually came from our buddy Devlin here. Mr. Devlin decided that he thought this article would be interesting, and he said he has some reasons for that. I don't know what's going on here. I'm like fighting with the ad blocker, Devlin. I don't think it's going to let us see it.
Oh, no.
Continue to cite.
Oh, never mind.
There we go. Okay, so.
No.
Stop it. I'm really done here. Continue to cite. Last chance, and we're going to close it. Okay, this is from NBC News. This is what's funny. NBC News is what's doing this to me. Like, no, really, we want you to have our cookies. Okay, Boomer is dividing generations. What does it mean? Okay, so Devlin, what is Okay Boomer?
It is Okay Boomer is a way to be like, it's like a brush off type phrase, you know?
Okay.
Like
a derogatory statement that infers that the person you're calling it to is an old person that's
just
not
doesn't
with the
get it.
times.
I wouldn't even say
right.
I wouldn't even say. Is it derogatory?
Well,
like, what's the definition of derogatory?
You've got the keyboard. Look
Yeah,
at
it just means that
right?
you're being condescending and looking down upon them.
Right.
If you're calling somebody a boomer in that way,
like
in a derogatory way.
they call younger people snowflakes. It's just sort of
derogatory.
Is this like the retort to that? Is
it's
that what?
it's a response.
Okay.
It's basically saying you're an old person. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it started out on TikTok. Because
here it's very positive.
Yeah.
It says why OK Boomer may be our best chance to bridge the intergenerational divide.
The baby boomers.
Yeah, they're a pain in the ass.
Almost any time that you take a phrase like baby boomers and shorten it to something, it's going to be derogatory.
Anything you shorten anything like that, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be derogatory.
Like a homosexual is good, but calling somebody a homo is bad. It's
right.
It's for some reason when you shorten it.
Okay, boomers become an insult to a certain kind of older person who may or may not technically be a baby boomer.
Right, because now it's being used as a catchphrase, so it doesn't necessarily mean that for legitimate. It just means someone's looking down on you and being derogatory towards you. So,
back in 1963, when the term baby boomer was first published in a Salt Lake Tribunal article,
and you know why, right?
Article, it's because of World War II.
Yeah.
It carried just one definition: a person rewind. A person born during the tail end or in the decade after World War II. When the United States saw a tremendous spike in births, everybody got sick of fighting and started loving. Frequently shortened to boomer, over the years, the phrase has been imbued with layers of meaning and implication. Much like millennial, boomer doesn't merely indicate a person born in a given time or place. It's a blanket term referencing the predominant trends, values, and concerns of an entire generation.
Yeah.
So you suggested this article, Mr. Devlin. Was it because of the definition? Or because you have firsthand experience of some sort that...
I just kind of wanted to see what you
What I thought?
About. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's legit. And not only do I think it's a thing, I think it's legit. I think that there's a lot of we at the beginning of the show we were talking about how Moore's law is affecting older people. They're seeing the transition much faster because of the time they grew up in. Younger people are already sort of used to drinking from the fire hose. They're not. So yeah, I think it's a legit thing.
But they're not using it to refer to people that's been accidentally caught up in the future shock. They're using it as a derogatory insult to someone who doesn't agree with a certain set of values and principles that could be defined as millennial values or principles.
That just, I wouldn't even say, here's the thing, right? From what I've seen and the way it started, like I said, it started on TikTok because for a long time, Gen Z and millennials, I feel like from what I've seen, I don't know, from my perspective, is that the boomers kind of just didn't like us. As like our generation.
I think that's a fair assessment.
I agree that this is a insult.
We're generalizing for sure, but
all the millennial issues that people have dumped on them. Yeah,
because it's definitely I don't know how to put this. It's definitely a way to be like, hey, we're kind of sick of this, being talked about.
When I saw this first start happening on Facebook and social media, where I saw older people using Facebook and social media to degrade and belittle and for lack of a better word, start attacking millennials and Gen Zers, like he's talking about young people. I thought this was like the funniest thing I'd ever seen because it was literally for me like it was going to be one of those situations where this person was picking a fight with somebody that they had no clue that the person you're picking a fight with is like a black belt in MMA. but you just think it's just some regular person, right? And what I mean by that is you're picking a fight with people that never knew a time when social media and shit like this didn't exist. They are black belts at social media. They know it inside out, up and down. And you're going to pick a fight with these kids on the internet, and you can barely log in and get your fucking email if your nephew doesn't come over and type your password in for you. Are you nuts?
Yeah.
Like, what is going? It's like picking a fight with a newspaper.
Yeah.
You know, what was the saying? I think it was it Hearst that said, you never pick a fight with someone that buys ink by the barrel. Right, you just, you don't want to do that. That's a bad idea. Yeah, and when I seen this start happening, I was like, these people don't know what they're. Welcome to Thunderdome, bitch. Like, you have no idea what you're getting involved in here.
Did that as a topic on one of the shows to give them a voice, right?
A millennial has been on the show. Yeah, we've done the topic of millennial on the show.
To give them a voice because they were getting a bunch of shit, right?
At that time, that's
what I thought,
Well, they're fighting back now. And exactly what I said was going to happen has started happening.
So far, the best meme I've seen about this is that's the typical woman and cat yelling, and the woman is yelling, and it says boomer, and the cat and is the millennial, and then above it is Han Solo, Generation X, which is what I'm from. You want...
Yeah, like, like what the hell? Who gives a shit?
Yeah, what the fuck, man? Who cares?
Because it's also sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's also not just the millennials anymore. It's also Gen Z that they're going after.
Yeah,
too.
for sure. Well, anybody younger that's sort of saying,
but not right under them. Like the Generation X that I'm from, is
we're the ones who are raising all of these kids that are supposed to be such troubles.
Yeah,
though.
but there's nobody like getting pissed at us or anything. It's weird. No. It's like they're arguing over us or
past us. Yeah, it's like the grandparents and the grandkids are fighting.
Yeah,
and the parents are just in the middle going, "I don't want any part of this."
I never did. Never. Don't understand it.
Tapping out, man. I don't want nothing to do with this shit. Boomer is also evidently an insult to an older person who may or may not technically be a boomer. The development of the word was a pejorative is a pretty recent phenomenon, best exemplified by "okay boomer," a phrase that has gained heavy traction on the social video app TikTok, which is what Devlin was saying. Among other internet platforms, much like the poorly aged 90s slang "talk to the hand," "okay boomer" is a derisive repudiation, a bit mocking in tone, like a verbal eye roll, and it's directed specifically by a young person towards someone older. Whatever, I think that's the way it is. Yeah. So, whatever. "Okay boomer" may be offensive to some, but it's not a slur. If you've spent much time on Twitter lately, you've probably observed ample activity around "okay boomer" and around hashtag "okay boomer" and hashtag boomer. Devlin, we need to add those to our hashtags.
Okay.
In a now deleted tweet, radio host Bob Lonsberry conjured a storm of controversy when he likened boomer to the N-word. Yeah, he might be reaching there. Claiming that it was an ageist slur. No, it's a fact.
Yeah.
An allegation that John Kelly, senior research editor at dictionary.com, expertly negates. Here we go. Quote, "You cannot compare the N-word to boomer. If you do, you're fundamentally not understanding the power balance that goes with slurs," Kelly says. "People in position of power do not have slurs attacking them the way people in minority groups do, particularly groups that have historically been oppressed."
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody forgets that part. Boomer has become a catch-all phrase for someone older who is closed-minded and resistant to change.
Pervert. Yeah. I remember on one of the old episodes.
Oh, you're not calling
Star
me
Trek.
a pervert? Okay.
No,
Herbert. Oh, I heard pervert.
No,
like,
pervert.
Like, why am I a pervert?
Why are we talking about this now?
I'm not even talking about sex dolls right now. Then's when you should have called me a pervert. Anyway, I'm sorry, Herbert.
Yeah, that's what when we there's this old episode of Star Trek original series. I think it might have. Can't remember what it was called, that episode, but it was where they had the space hippies on.
I don't remember it.
Oh,
I would have remembered that one, yeah.
When they'd say, "We reach," but Kirk was Herbert to them. They would sit around and just go Herbert, 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 and they wouldn't do anything he wanted them to do. And they asked Spock about it, and Spock's like, Yeah, he was this minor official that was known for his rigidity and stuff.
Oh, okay. So this is like the guy they got rid of or whatever. Yeah, he's just like Herbert. So here they are.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a famous. That guy's a fairly famous actor. Right?
Yeah,
he's been in a lot. I can't think.
And a singer too.
We should blow that up, Devlin. Yeah, no, he was in. He was the guy that drove the RV in the Blues Brothers movie.
Oh,
you remember him?
Yeah.
The what was the name of the band? The Good Old Boys or something like that.
Requiem for Methuselah.
Star Trek Requiem for Methuselah.
Yeah, that was the name of the show.
Yeah, dude, look at that guitar he's rocking though, bro. Come on.
Yeah, look at that. It could be like a death machine.
That's not Herbert though. That's the guys that didn't like Herbert.
Yeah. Herbert was just a catch-all slang term like boomer.
Okay.
To represent somebody who was rigid in their thinking and not open-minded.
The beatniks would call you a square,
exactly.
Man. You're just a square.
Yeah.
You know, we got to get them corners off of you. Stop being such a square. It's the same idea.
Yep, exactly.
There's nothing new here.
No. Well, they were space hippies, so they just had to change some slang.
Well, no, I mean, there's nothing new in this between the boomers and the millennials and the Gen Zers.
Oh, yeah, no, nothing
either.
new. The Herbert, boomer, or square, it's all the same thing.
Yeah, it's all synonymous. The same thing. Nuance plays a profound role here. The term boomer doesn't precisely mean baby boomer, not on the internet anyway, where Kelly adds we're constantly navigating our identities. We're not using boomer per se to take down people who were born after World War II and the baby boom. We're using it as an ironic, often humorous, though sometimes malicious way as a catch-all or stand-in for a set of attitudes. Basically, it's old closed-minded people is what they're sort of referencing.
Yeah.
Is my impression. Would you say that's fair, Dublin?
Yeah, definitely.
Square, Herbert, or boomer.
You're such a square. Loosen up, man. Chill out. All that stuff, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. That is a show. We've actually put in an hour and 41 minutes here. This is a long one for us.
My, how time flies.
When you're having fun.
Yeah.
It's been fun tonight, huh?
Yeah.
You guys got anything else we need to cover? Mr. Devlin, anything we need to talk about?
Not off the top of my head.
Mr. Smith, we good?
Yeah, we can safely close this thing down.
So we'll wrap, but not wrap. We've done covered that we can't do. Neither one of us can do that, right? So
I would have to think, and I don't think you're supposed to think a whole lot
about it. It's a free flow, man.
Yeah, right. I have no
flow.
flow.
Can you drop some rhymes? I can't do either of those
things.
Me either. Nope, not good at it. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. Check us out at www.noshitcast.com. It's KNOWSHITCAST.com. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Check us out on YouTube if you want to watch this thing we do. It's pretty cool, and we really have started enjoying adding the cameras, I think, to the mix here, and everybody seems to have responded well. But drop us some comments. We might mention you on the show. We often do. And thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch y'all next time. Bye, Siggles.